An Islamic terror group killed hundreds of Christians attending Easter services on Sunday in Sri Lanka in a sprawling suicide bombing campaign. And former President Barack Obama couldn't even mention the word Christian in his sympathy tweet. Mitt Romney decided to go after and attack President Trump over findings from the Mueller Report. And Charlize Theron's son is now a daughter. All that and more. I'm Bobby Eberle. This is a 13-minute news hour.
And God bless the United States of America.
Okay, so this past weekend, and especially yesterday, many of us were celebrating Easter, going to Mass, going to other services, getting together with family. Well, in Sri Lanka, I'm sure hundreds of people plan to do the same thing, but they won't be doing it anymore because they're dead. Attending Mass or attending services, they were attacked by an Islamic terror group in a series of suicide bombings that left hundreds and hundreds of people either dead or injured. Here's the latest from Fox News. This is just this morning. The country's health minister said the attacks, which killed at least 290 and injured more than 500, were carried out by 7 suicide bombers from a local militant group named National Tawheed Jamaat. Experts cited the New York Times said the group promotes an Islamic terrorist ideology. Police said 13 suspects in the connection with the bombings have been arrested. These attacks appear to be quite different and look as if they came right out of the ISIS Al-Qaeda global militant jihadist playbook, as these are attacks fomenting religious hatred by attacking multiple churches on a high religious holiday. Anne Speckhard said, the director of the International Center of Study of Violent Extremism, told the Times. All right. So again, these terrorists attack Christians, and this is the biggest threat worldwide. We see this happening over and over again, that the target is Christians, and it just seems to be glossed over. If another group gets attacked, that group is front and center. The name of that attacked group is front and center. But if Christians are attacked, that's glossed over because we don't want to get to who did the attacking. And we're going to get into some of that PC culture in just a second. But first, some of the politics, which just seems very bizarre, okay? Shortly after the attack, President Trump tweeted this. He said, 138 people have been killed in Sri Lanka, with more than 600 badly injured in a terrorist attack on churches and hotels. The United States offers heartfelt condolences to the great people of Sri Lanka. We stand ready to help. Okay, so he puts that out there. And then just a few hours later, a reporter, Miriam Elder from BuzzFeed, tweeted this out. Suspect we'd be hearing a lot more outrage from Trump and company if the Christians killed in Sri Lanka were white. I mean, what does that have to do with anything? He tweeted almost immediately the numbers that he had and offered sympathy and support. I just don't get the reason for a political attack. But here's the main thing that I wanted to get out of this segment. In addition to sending and asking for thoughts and prayers for these people who were killed, is Barack Obama, around the time of the BuzzFeed tweet, tweeted this out. The attacks on terrorists and Easter worshippers in Sri Lanka are an attack on humanity. On a day devoted to love, redemption, and renewal, we pray for the victims and stand with the people of Sri Lanka. All right, that tweet it's wrong on several levels. And two that I really want to point out is he says Easter worshipers. Okay, you know what those are? Those are called Christians, all right? They're the ones that are going to Easter Mass and Easter services around the world. They're called Christians, and you can say it. The other thing is he says this is an attack on humanity. No, it's not. It's an attack on Christianity. It is organized, it's obvious, as suicide bombers. They've already, within a day, traced it to the group that they believe is responsible. And other reports that I'm not covering on the show showed that they had a feeling that this was coming. Okay, it's not an attack on humanity, it's an attack on Christianity. And I just wanted to compare that with Obama's tweet from just last month when had the mosque attacks in New Zealand. And here's what he tweeted. Michelle and I send our condolences to the people of New Zealand. We grieve with you and the Muslim community. All of us must stand against hatred in all its forms. Okay, So he mentions Muslim there, but doesn't mention Christian there. And we see this over and over again. As I mentioned, Christianity is under attack worldwide, and we even see it in America. And that's what's so frightening, so disturbing. We haven't seen, the beheadings and things like that you're finding in other parts of the world. But people are being arrested. They're being fined. They're being ostracized. There's campaigns against companies that espouse Christian values. And this is here in America. We see it over and over again. And someone needs to stand up and do something about it, because it's just going to grow larger and larger and larger till it becomes a point where if you espouse Christian beliefs, traditional Christian beliefs, that will be considered criminal. You can't say it, you can't act on it, you can't do anything. And we are getting closer and closer to that point. And it's because we don't address it, because we gloss over it, like with tweets like this that don't mention attacks on Christianity, but mention attacks on, Muslim mosques. It's just, Obama does not have his head on straight, and it's just so frustrating when we see what's going on around the world. And so from there, I want to move on on Friday we covered the Mueller Report. And, we brought up that there's two volumes. Mueller addressed found there's no collusion between Trump or his campaign with the Russians. The other part was the obstruction. And it's hard to prove obstruction up to a crime when there was no crime. And he left a number of details, meetings and stuff for the Attorney General to decide if there was obstruction. The Attorney General looked at it and rightly so said there was no obstruction of justice, because there's no crime to deceive the media or try and lessen political damage, and there was no collusion crime. So, but that apparently was not enough for Mitt Romney. And this guy frustrates me to no end, because here is a guy that when he was running against Barack Obama, he sought out and welcomed Donald Trump's help. He welcomed donations and any help he could get. Then Trump runs for president, and Romney is attack. Then Trump gets elected, and there's a chance Romney's interviewed for Secretary of State. There's a chance that he could become a Secretary of State, and everything is all fine and good. Well, Trump at that point went with Rex Tillerson, and now Romney's on the attack again. And so here we come out with this report. There's no collusion, and yet Romney, for some reason, decides on Friday that he wants to jump on board and he wants to attack Trump. And so here is what he tweeted. He said, "I have now read the redacted Mueller report and offer my personal reaction." And here's a part of that. "I am sickened at the extent and pervasiveness of dishonesty and misdirection by individuals in the highest office of the land, including the president. I am also appalled that, among other things, fellow citizens working in a campaign for president welcomed help from Russia, including information that had been illegally obtained, that none of them acted to inform the American law enforcement, and that the campaign chairman was actively promoting Russian interests in the Ukraine." All right, so former Arkansas Governor Mike Huckabee jumped all over this, and here was his response. "You know what makes me sick, Mitt? Not how disingenuous you were to take Donald Trump's money and then 4 years later jealously trash him and then love him again when you begged to be Secretary of State, but makes me sick that you got the GOP nomination and could have been President of the United States." And see, it's just what Romney tweeted is wrong on so many levels, because, again, there was no finding of obstruction of justice. There was no collusion. And he is blaming the Trump campaign, a campaign that's running for president, in the process of running for president of the United States, for not, investigating this, when Obama's officials and Obama, who was president at the time, knew about this. They knew of Russian interference for years. And what did they do about it? They were the ones tasked with investigating and doing something about it. But they did nothing because they thought Hillary would win and she would just take over and, again, probably do nothing. And the fact that that the Trump campaign thought that Russia, whatever they were doing, might benefit them is irrelevant, because it's not Donald Trump's job. And again, they were not colluding with each other. If you knew if Russia was out there doing something and we're out here doing our thing, and they might leak something, emails that are damaging to Hillary. Well, I mean, as a person in a campaign, let them do what they're going to do. Our job is to run the campaign, and Russia's going to do whatever Russia's going to do. The crime would be if they were colluding with each other, which Mueller found they weren't. So Romney is so out of line. It's just absolutely outrageous that he decides to attack Trump when things are going so well for the economy and jobs and taxes and all kinds of things that make the country better. He decides to attack. All right. So I want to move on to a segment that I know you've been waiting for. I mean, yes, we had Easter this weekend and we had the Mueller Report, but what I know you were just dying to hear, what everyone's been waiting for, is the announcement from Academy Award-winning actress Charlize Theron that her 7-year-old son is now a daughter. Yep, that's right. She made an announcement. Even though she says she's a private person, she just wanted to announce that this boy is now a girl, and she's all excited for it. And I bring that up because the world has just absolutely gone crazy. All right. Less than 2 weeks ago, almost every single Democrat in the U.S. House of Representatives voted on or co-sponsored a bill that would force men to be allowed on women's sports teams. And I want to read you that report from the Daily Caller. Every House Democrat but one has co-sponsored a bill requiring schools to allow male athletes who identify as transgender girls to compete on female sports teams. Democrats' Equality Act would amend the Civil Rights Act of 1964 to make sexual orientation and gender identity protected characteristics under federal anti-discrimination law. Among other things, the bill would force public schools to expand female athletic teams to include biological males who identify as transgender girls. So, I mean, where is it going to stop? I mean, to pretend that men can be women or to pretend that women can be men is just nuts. It's pretend. I mean, when I was a kid, for a while, I pretended I was a dog. And guess what? My parents went along with it, but you chew on one too many rawhides and your dad's going to bust you and say enough is enough. Yet no one is saying enough is enough here. They just are going on with this fantasy. And we are all expected now to pretend along with everybody. And it's gone through the media. It's gone to the left. And I bring up Charlize Theron because the report that I read on it was actually from Fox News, and I just want to read how this reporter wrote it. Here's the report. The headline is Charlize Theron reveals that her daughter, 7, is transgender. The very private Charlize Theron is opening up about her family life. The Academy Award winner revealed that her eldest child is transgender. According to the actress, Jackson, 7, was assigned male at birth, but told Theron 4 years ago that she was actually a girl. Theron adopted Jackson in 2012 and her second daughter, August, in 2015. So you see right there, it says she adopted Jackson in 2012 and her second daughter in 2015. She only has one daughter, yet this journalist goes right along perpetuating this myth that she now has 2. And we see it over and over again. So think about that as you start your Monday and you go on to the week, folks. Thanks a lot for supporting the show. Please subscribe. Please tell your friends. I'm Bobby Everly. This is a 13-minute news hour.